All right, so we're at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. I'm with Nadine. Nadine
Yeah.
Troung. Okay. And your film is I Can, I Will, I Did. Tell me about the film.
Certainly. So the film is about a foster youth who gets bullied and ends up in the hospital because of it. And he goes through a time of depression and doesn't want to help his own recovery until he meets a girl and her grandfather. And the grandfather happens to be a Taekwondo master. And together they help him.
Hold on. Yeah.
Close. Okay. Together they help him get back up on his feet through the teachings that the Grandmaster imparts on him.
Okay, and so what was this is a narrative,
Yeah.
so it's fictional? And so how did the story come about? What were you...
It is fictional, but it actually is based on several true accounts, because the Grandmaster actually exists, and he is a real person who ends up actually playing himself in the film. And it was his students who wanted to who wanted to put his teachings on screen. So they actually looked for a filmmaking team to make it happen, and they found Brian Yang, who's my husband as well as my producer. And Brian and we work as a team together. I'm a writer and a director, so we put our heads together and figure out a narrative that would help elevate the teachings. And so I Can, I Will, I Did is actually a phrase that Master Kang has his students recite in class. And I took that as sort of the major theme of the film and then wrote a story around that. The rest of the story is really based and rooted in my personal experiences from being bullied when I was a kid. It's a topical issue right now. You know, we're now starting to talk really openly about how bullying affects kids, how online bullying affects adults. Even adults are doing it. So
and just the pervasiveness.
Yeah,
of
it's so pervasive and in society that now we're able to start building a vocabulary around it. Yeah.
So in this case, was the result of bullying paralysis, so to speak, where it just you mentioned it just kind of kept him from wanting to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's one of the effects. It's not the sole effect. Bullying can also result in somebody else bullying back, right? There's so many different ways that it can show itself. This particular character, he just shuts down because he thinks that, not only am I getting bullied, but I don't have a go-to family that I can.
There's no advocate.
Yeah, I don't have any. And he also, this is another point in the story. He's actually 17, about to turn 18, so he's aging out of the foster care system. And what is he to do with his life? So and it's a commentary on that as well.
Yeah. That seems to be a common theme in films here, where it's that age, that teen, middle school, high school, where you have one of two paths to take, and it's choosing the right one. But at the same time, being in a point in your life where you don't see beyond even high school. What is the world outside of into adulthood, so to speak.
It's such a volatile time of a person's life, whether you're a boy or a girl growing up, figuring out who you are. And that has a lot to do with how you respond to negative situations, right? Like, that's when you really know who you become or who you are. But if you don't know yet, and you're confused with your reactions, then it takes a few tries to get yourself out of that hole, right? So for him, it's a depression hole.
Yeah, it's that choice between are you going to rise above and be better than it, or are you going to succumb to it and be part of the
Exactly. And that oftentimes, as you grow older and you've done that a few times, and it's easier to pull yourself out of that. And but for a teen, that might be your first time rising above. Yeah,
and then finding that support system to bring you through, and that's kind of what the film is. It is that support system that gets him through. through the situation. So you mentioned that his students came to you to make the film. Were they part of the writing process, or how involved were they other than the inspiration for
So
it?
actually, they already had a story in their minds, and they actually had worked with a different filmmaking team before us. But that collaboration didn't work out, and by the time they came to us, they already had a script, but I didn't connect to the script. It was a script about gang life and
It's like a slice of life.
just I think it was. At the end of the day, the vision of that filmmaking team was a lot flashier of a martial arts film. But to me, it was always going to be about a beginner,
Yeah.
So it's not shot flashy. It's not. I mean, there is a mentor and a mentee, and you could say that it falls within the lines of Karate Kid. But it really, it's not shot that way. It's a lot more documentary style, realistic. I didn't add anything that would make him look grand at whatever he does.
It wasn't a promotional video.
It's really just more about, it's a family film, and it's about the aspects of this is how good it is to be involved in movement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me, because one thing that struck me in the description, Ed, you talk about Adrienne, a wheelchair-bound patient, and so how does that narrative work into it, and how did that come about?
I really want to correct myself on that description because through research I've learned that to probably use the word wheelchair user is more mindful than wheelchair bound.
Right. Someone who needs a wheelchair to get around, even though they're still
full
a level of
people,
mobility
just
that-
like
yeah.
Asian Americans are full people and women are full people. We're not less than anything. So it was definitely something that I researched and learned a lot about that community. And I wanted that role. I wanted to create roles that are not typically seen on the screen for communities that are not usually represented, So she happens to be a wheelchair user, but it's not the main thing of the thing.
That doesn't define her.
Exactly, it doesn't define her. And actually in casting, the actress that plays her name is Ellie Lee. And in casting her, so it was going to be an Asian girl, and she was going to sit in a wheelchair. But I didn't want her to be a victimized, I didn't want her to be a victim. I wanted her to be really strong, spirited, lively, because you get all these types of different personalities on that spectrum using wheelchairs, So just like we are all, we're varied and diverse in the way we express our loves and wants and needs, and so that character happens to sit in a wheelchair, but is not. But that's not what defines her. So that's also why I, when I talk about that character, it's almost to me now it's really almost an afterthought. It's not the first thing that I describe her. Is describe her with?
It's not.
It comes up because it should come up because it's a defining visual aspect of the film, but
It's like our experiences. We have experiences that shape and define us. The problem is our experiences are not something people see, and for her experience is there in the chair, and people just see it, and that's a part of who she is, but it's not the sum total.
Exactly.
Of who she is.
Also, I didn't want the wheelchair to be used like a prop. You know what I mean? It's to. It should be out there because it's kind of like hair color for some people. That's one of the ways that they live their lives with. There's an extension, and it happens to be an inanimate object that rolls through space instead of shoes or So that's
Yeah. Okay. And so, what does it mean for you? Oh, yeah. What does it mean for you to be here at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival?
I freaking love it here. I'm so happy to be here. I actually grew up in this film festival. When I first started making films 11 years ago, my first short film screened here. I went through the Armed with a Camera program here as well. Every short film that I've made has screened here. I've made 3 features, and this is my second feature that screens here as well. So it's always like it's a homecoming. I'm always honored. I would like to be even more successful than I am now, but at the end of the day, I'll always come back here, and I'll always be honored to screen at this festival. So hopefully for the rest of my life, I'll just come back every year. Okay. Yeah.
And then what was it like for you as an Asian to become an Asian storyteller? Was it full of challenges, or was it, I mentioned, I'm at that age where getting into entertainment and storytelling was not something you did because it wasn't going to make a lot of money. Have things changed, or, did you run into similar situations like that?
Yeah. I have a slight chip on my shoulder because I'm a woman filmmaker who's also Asian. So it's kind of a double whammy, I tell people, naturally when business people meet me, they don't see capable filmmaker, right? They
don't see Steven
Spielberg. I wish they did. But I think, and I don't want to be self-deprecating because I'm very proud of all the work that I've done so far. But I think when you first meet me, you'll probably see a small, smiley Asian girl. I have very round features, and true to Asian form, I age very well. So I think girl is probably a noun that people will describe me as more than woman, even. So I feel like that's been a challenge for me, but the more time I put into the craft and into the business, the more my body of work expands, and then it gets to speak for itself. And that has helped me as well. So as soon as people know of my work, then the tune kind of changes a little bit, and the attitude changes, and it's been a challenge, and it continues. It'll always be a challenge, but I am not hopeless about it, because I'm proud of all that I've already achieved in my life, and I know that I have more mileage in me. So
it's like that. You're always bound to that stereotype, but ultimately it's the body of work that's going to elevate you beyond that.
I mean, it's the body of work, but also publications like yours and festivals like these. We need community members to help elevate storytellers as well, and we need to be conscientious of each other's works and help elevate each other as filmmakers and support. We need to get more audience members out there, not just within our own community, but also outside of our own community. So it takes more than a village to raise this baby. Yeah.
Yep. So when are you screening, and how can people who can't come to the festival see your film?
We're world premiering tonight. Friday, April 28th at 8 p.m. at the Arantani Theater. After that, tomorrow evening, I'll be at the St. Petersburg, Florida Film Festival. It's called the Sunscreen Film Festival in St. Petersburg. And that will be our East Coast premiere. And then those are the 2 scheduled for this week. And then we have an array of festivals hopefully lined up all across the nation very, very soon.
And do you have a website?
We have a Facebook. It's facebook.com. I did the movie. And then the Instagram account is ICIWID underscore film. That one's a little bit more complicated. And that's our Instagram account. And so, you can find more information there. We have a wonderful trailer that's been shared 1,000 times in 2 days to check out more about the tone and feel of the film. So, Yeah, come check it out.
All right. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.